Welcome into another episode of Target Score Winnipeg. I'm Joey Slattery. Beside me is Taylor Allen. We've got another fun show for you today. But before we get to that, make sure you're following us on all of our socials at Target Score Pod on Instagram. If you're listening to the show, we are also on YouTube at Target Score Podcast. And we're not the only one. We've got a network. Target Score Vancouver and Target Score Brampton. Target Score Brampton has Cameron Tyson as their guest this week, and Brampton's been on a tear. They're having a good time out in Brampton, and it's very celebratory out there. They also had a conversation with Mr. Mark Cuban, who was at a game. Danung Balsera was a sideline reporter, chatted with him. So him and Matt Bonomi have that episode. You can catch it on our YouTube page. And over in Vancouver, special guest host, Taylor, you'll never guess who it is. The Joe Man.
Oh, wow. They were really scraping the bottom of the barrel this week.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel. I had to beg to get in on that position, but thankfully Andrew Savory was kind enough to say, Joey, come along with me. I'll show you how this is done. So Andrew Savory and myself hosting the show in Vancouver. Vancouver also on a crazy tear, just beating Brampton in a huge game. That's what's going on around the CBL right now. Brampton, Vancouver, probably the two favorites, in the league right now on both sides of the coin. We have a very special guest today. This has been a great 2-week stretch for you, Taylor Allen. You're not a guy who plays favorites, but you are a guy that always has time for two individuals, and that is Nate Balamu and Trey Scott, our guest this week.
Absolutely. I mean, for those that don't remember, we had Trey on the podcast last year. We put the request in at like 3 p.m. He was at Thermea, and while he was at Thermea, all robed up and whatever, he made time to chat to us for close to an hour or whatever it was. So, yeah, cool to see Trevon back. Obviously, he really enjoyed his time here in Winnipeg last year, and I think the Sea Bears must be pretty ecstatic to have him back this summer.
Yeah, really good dude, and you'll hear all about it, but here's a guy that left the Sea Bears after last year, went to the G League with the Long Island Nets, and found himself not only on an NBA team in the Brooklyn Nets, but he started for the Brooklyn Nets. Just a wildly cool story. Really good guy, and just a ton of fun. So you'll enjoy that. That's coming up in a few minutes. Last week, Taylor, we were talking about the Sea Bears. They only had one game on the docket, a game that I think a lot of teams look past, and it was the Saskatoon Mamba. Mamba came into Winnipeg a few weeks ago. Pretty easy work for the Sea Bears. This time around, though, and the Mamba didn't have a win at that point. I think they were like 0-5 or whatever it was. And Sea Bears come in, and I'm using this term very loosely, Taylor, struggling on the road right now. They opened it with a very narrow win, but they've had 3 now narrow losses, and they're on a 2-game losing streak right now, having lost their last 2 road games as well. So, the Saskatoon game, they lost 100-98. They had a chance to win that one, just like in Brampton, where they lost 96-92. The last game before that, again, Brampton being the top team in the East with Scarborough. Again, the Scarborough one, I think, was a 2-point loss, another 2-point loss. So they lost by 2 and 4 and 2 in the last 3 road games. It's tough. I'm going to start with my point. I feel like last year when these losses were happening, even earlier in the season, there was a sense of not panic, but definitely urgency, right? Like there were things that were really kind of sticking out. It didn't seem like a team at any point last season where you were like, they're going to pull this one out. They've had 3 straight road losses, and in each one, I'm at the edge of my seat thinking, like, are they going to pull this one out? Like they're going shot for shot with teams. Saskatoon's not Scarborough. It's not Brampton. But again, they didn't get blown out, and there was a fight right down to the last possession. But it's just they still have to figure it out. Like they still have to win on the road. But I just feel more optimistic about this team on the road, despite the losses. You're not gonna have an undefeated season. But I imagine it's getting a little bit frustrating if you're the Sea Bears too, to be so close yet not get over that hump. And they've given up leads in a lot of these games.
Joey, I have 3 takes about the game in Saskatoon that I need to get off my chest. Take number 1, those Saskatoon neon greenish unis, dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Though I don't mind the purplish ones they got going on, but those green ones
too, I bet.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, those ones are kind of silly too. But yeah, no, the neon green, or however you want to describe them, terrible. Okay, we got that out of the way. Take number two. It's a Friday night in Saskatoon. Winnipeg is in town. The Prairie rivalry, right? The story writes itself. And yet, less than 2,000 fans showed up to the game. I was at the Bombers preseason game last Friday covering that, which was riveting. Obviously not. So I had to watch the game the next day, and I just couldn't believe how empty the stands were. And it's just like, man, Saskatoon, come on! Like, I love Saskatoon. I think that's one of the most underrated cities in the country. And what are people doing? Like, go support the team and like the ownership group. I mean, yeah, not everyone loved the name change and whatever, but it's like they're at least making an effort, it seems like, to get people interested in talking about this team. And to have less than 2,000 people show up, I'm just like, come on. So I don't know, man. I don't know if this team's going to be in Saskatoon for much longer if this keeps going, which would be a shame because, I mean, who doesn't love a Manitoba-Saskatchewan rivalry? Like, every sports league that has both of those provinces, or obviously U Sports in CFL. I mean, the story writes itself. So it's frustrating that the Saskatoon fan base is just nowhere near the level of Winnipeg's, if we're being honest.
It's, what, too, like, there was some animosity to some degree. I know not a lot of people were fans of the fact that the ownership group in Calgary was also owning the Saskatoon Mamba. Didn't like the rebrand.
And I get that.
Didn't like that it was purple.
I get that.
Yeah.
Less than 2,000 fans.
But the other thing too
Come
is,
on.
At the end of the day, like, you have the pro sport. Basketball, there's a lot, like, basketball's pretty strong in Saskatchewan. Like, I lived in Regina for a year. I had basketball fan friends, right? Like, playing rec. And I had, I remember when the Rattlers first came out, people making that road trip from Regina. I don't know what the solution is. Now, let's keep in mind, they played at the SaskTel Center, which has been a sore spot too. It's a little bit out of the way. And I'm not making excuses because they go support the Saskatchewan Rush out there. But once they get into Merlis Belcher and play at the University of Saskatchewan in a smaller venue, that won't look as terrible. But I agree. And I think, that's one of the things too. I've had this conversation with players, coaches, friends, but I think that is a weird advantage to Saskatoon as well. Like, if you come from Winnipeg, right, and you're playing in, front of 6, 7, 8,000 up to 12,000 fans, and then you have to go to Brampton, which is, to be fair, Brampton is really turning a corner in terms of how they've approached, the game day and attracting fans. And there's an energy in that building that you could feel when you're watching it on TV that just, like, it was hollow before. Like, there was no energy in that building. Saskatoon needs to find that page in that book and bring it over to Saskatoon, because I don't know, and if you see a team going from a Winnipeg to a Saskatoon, it's got to be jarring to go and play in front of less than 2,000 fans in an arena that holds, 15, somewhere in that vicinity. It doesn't look much different in terms of size from Canada Life Center. And that, I think, sometimes could be a disadvantage to the Sea Bears. Everybody coming to Winnipeg brings their best because everybody's excited to play in front of a crowd. Could be the opposite effect when you're going into that. But no, I agree with you. And I said this throughout the year, right? Like, we probably talked too much about Saskatoon on this podcast, but we've played them a few times. Winnipeg's played them a few times. So, they've got a talented team. I didn't think their record reflected the talent level. Our boy, Tavian Dunmartin, had another 20 points that game, 8 assists, just shy of a double-double. Jalen Williams played well, too, 8 boards, 13 points. Jaden Bediako was there. He wasn't there for the first game with Winnipeg. That's a difference maker, too. He had 22 points, led the Saskatchewan in scoring, had 10 rebounds. So, there were some added weapons, but 6. No, I'm looking at the wrong part.
Counting is hard. Counting is not easy.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm looking at the wrong. It was Jalen Williams at 8 points and 8 boards. I was looking at the index. My apologies. But Tavian Tavian Dunmartin had 21 points, 17 points from Bediako, 18 from Chaplin, and 11 from Trey Townsend off the bench. Like they're starting to find a rhythm in Saskatoon. More guys are getting into the double figures. They're starting to pass the ball around. Tavian Dunmartin has some options. Like Bediako is a huge addition. When Bandu's there too, like that's another weapon that they have. They're not a slouch team. Like the record doesn't really reflect how tight it is here in the Western Conference. And I think that's going to tighten up as we move forward here. But then you look at, Winnipeg again, 13 turnovers, not terrible. They had 40 rebounds, 15 offensive boards, and then it was 46 rebounds, 15 offensive for Saskatoon. And it's that rebounding battle where I feel like Winnipeg should have the edge. They're losing on that. And even the turnovers from game to game, it ranges, right? 13 turnovers isn't the worst. It's better than the 18 they had, but they've also had games in single digits. And I know that's an area particularly where Mike Rainbow, that probably keeps him up at night, right? He's a defensive guy, a gritty team. We keep talking about how this team is grittier than it has been. And when you look at a gritty team, two of the areas that they're really looking at are turnovers and rebounds, right? As long as we want to be forcing the turnovers, not taking the turnovers, and we got to get those rebounds and run out and transition. And I think that's an area where it hasn't been terrible. It's been inconsistent.
And my third take, Joey, and this is going to actually be about the basketball game itself, not just, other things. The Sea Bears and the Rattlers / Mamba. I think people have wanted this to be a rivalry since, day one of the Sea Bears. And at least in my opinion, Joey, it hasn't really felt like a rivalry.
Not at all.
Really. It kind of feels like there's been other teams, honestly, in the league that the Sea Bears are kind of
I would say rivals. It started with Edmonton and probably went to Calgary in last year.
Totally. However, Joey, the tide might be changing a little bit considering how this game in Saskatoon ended, because it was spicy. Oh, it's spicy. So for those that didn't see or don't remember, Tavian Dunmartin hits the game-winning free throw, and then Emmanuel Acott, he gets the ball after or whatever, and he just casually kind of like flicks it in the direction of Tavian Dunmartin. Now, I wasn't there. I wasn't courtside, whatever. And I don't know if he was, purposely flicking it in Tavian's direction. But even if he was,
it
whatever.
Felt like there was probably something I don't know if it was the ball tip as much as were there words being talked about beforehand. That's the part where I'm curious, because there definitely was something that built up in that game.
Absolutely. But anyways, E-Man, he flicks the ball in Tavian's direction. Okay, whatever. And then Tavian catches it. So he decides to pass it back to E-Man, but obviously puts a little more mustard on it. Then E-Man passes it right back with even more mustard on it. And then Tavian, like Joe Milton, the quarterback on the Cowboys, who has the biggest arm in the NFL, not that he starts though, he throws a Joe Milton, bullet in E-Man's direction, which did not make E-Man very happy, and rightfully so. I think we'd all be pissed in that circumstance as well. So then E-Man, he's about to go, really introduce himself to Tavian Dunmartin, and then, the officials step in, and then, that kind of kiboshes that. But, Joey, now, the tickets should really be selling the next time these two teams meet, because, I think, there might be some tension there, and, no one got hurt, nothing, whatever, but this is why we love sports, right? You want to see two guys going at it respectfully, at least, right? And yeah, so I think finally, Joey, maybe Winnipeg and Saskatoon will be rivals finally.
I'd like to see it, and I love that there was that passion into it too, right? And the fact that it's Tavian Dunmartin, one of the leaders on that team, right? And to me, that could be a turning point. Let's be clear: Saskatoon won that game. Then they went on to beat Scarborough, and Scarborough has been a team that every one of their wins, they were trailing at target time, right? And every time they're in target time, you think they're going to come back at this point. And Saskatoon, of all teams, was the team to figure them out and hand them their first loss. Now, again, a team that's 5-0, 6-0, and they went into Saskatoon, they might be overlooking it a little bit, but a win is a win is a win. Are we going to look back at season's end, once these records start evening out and these rosters get full, we look at that Tavian Dunmartin fastball And look at, like, that was the moment that Saskatoon needed to really gel, because all the guys got up, on both teams, and there was a kerfuffle. And the nice thing with this is they got to play again, right? So now, as you say, this isn't going to be forgotten. And he threw it at Emmanuel Acott, which is a Winnipegger, right? So it stings a little bit more in that sense of, like, now you're like me on my city team, like, my city, my team. I think it sets for fireworks, and this was a close game. So now, not only that, you have the loss to Saskatoon, like, and you got to wear that. We were the first team to lose to Saskatoon. Everybody's kind of basement dweller projection. And then they added a little salt on the wound. It reminded me of, do you remember last season, Winnipeg goes into Calgary and wins in Calgary for the first time, and Simi Shitu grabs the ball when he wins, and he just wires like Gronk spikes / throws it at Calgary's bench afterwards. It felt kind of like that. And that was a moment where that was probably the bright spot of the year for Winnipeg, because they won that game, and then they won in Montreal, I believe, just before that was their first win there. Is that moment now, like that moment that you look at that has really nothing to do with basketball, but where the team kind of came together? Because you got to remember, Winnipeg's had their number these last few years. Like, it's been very heavily in Winnipeg's favor. I don't know if I have the record on me, like on hand, but Winnipeg. I remember even in like year one, Chad Posthumous said along the lines, like my favorite quote. I'm talking about the rivalry. He's like, well, it's not really a rivalry. They have to win a game or two before we can call it that. So here's that win. They've got it, and now there's going to be a little emotion behind it too.
An underrated aspect of that is the fact that I think one of Eman's arms is bigger than Tavian Dunmartin, or taller than Tavian Dunmartin.
Yeah,
so I kind of respect Tavian for, the fact that he's a foot shorter than Emmanuel Acott. He's like, screw it, I'm going to throw a heater at this guy. So,
I feel like that guy's afraid of no one.
And honestly, the way that guy plays, he shouldn't be. We've talked about him so many times, even though he doesn't even play for the Sea Bears. But yeah, he's one of the by far most exciting guys in the league. So yeah, I don't know, Joey. Kind of cool, or not kind of cool, but I think this is kind of leading to maybe some more tension moving forward. So we'll see the next time they meet each other. It might just be the beginning, Joey. The fireworks might even be getting bigger and better from here on out. You never know.
Well, now that game was the halfway point of the season-long road trip. And when I say road trip, they're not on the road the whole time. They come back, they practice, and there's been about a week break between games. But now they're heading back east. A lot of Eastern road games to start the season. They played in Brampton already, Scarborough, and now they will play back-to-back games in back-to-back nights in Ottawa and Montreal. So that's not easy. Beginning in Ottawa on Thursday. Ottawa's a pretty complete team. We talked about this, Taylor. The East so far right now seems really strong, top to bottom. Ottawa just beat Montreal, who is no slouch. Montreal has a decent roster as well. But you look at the team that Ottawa has. Javonte Smart is just one of the phenomenal players in this league. He was in MVP conversations last year. They had guys like Justin Harmon, Matthew Cleveland, Alex Fudge. Like, these are some players, like, between Fudge, Cleveland, and Smart is kind of their big three. But Ottawa is starting to look a little bit scary in the East as well. Brampton and Scarborough have dominated the headlines. And what I'm thinking with these teams, particularly Ottawa, is when it comes playoff time, I don't know if being a favorite actually means your odds are that much better at winning. You might have home court advantage, but this Ottawa team is no joke. And, coming off back-to-back losses, again, Brampton, it's kind of like, okay, well, no one's really beaten Brampton. But then you have the Saskatoon game. I feel like there's probably a sour taste in the mouths of the Sea Bears right now. And, now you've strung together 2 losses. There's a little bit of urgency here, but that game against Ottawa is going to be a real test. And then it doesn't get any easier one night later in Montreal. But I think I would rather Ottawa first, if I'm being honest.
Joey, it's kind of fun, the West so far. It seems it's kind of a debacle. Really, no one outside of Vancouver seems to really have their game consistently figured out. So, yeah, it's kind of we're 5, 6, 7 games into the year, and it feels like we still almost don't even know that much about a few of these teams. And obviously, changes are being made already with Trey Scott, our guest, being brought in by Winnipeg, and you and I were kind of talking off air about it. Obviously, anytime you can add a player like Trey Scott, literally an NBA caliber player, you'd be crazy not to. But But something is going to have to give with the Sea Bears team pretty soon, because you're only allowed so many imports, and they have quite a few right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of make this work, and maybe who might be the odd man out coming up pretty soon here.
Well, I mean, that's a big one too. I mean, right now they can kind of skirt it until Xavier gets here. So the update on Xavier Moon, got knocked out in his semifinals in Russia. They have a third place series. That's a best of 5. So that should be done this week. I don't remember the schedule offhand, but it was like a Monday, Tuesday game. And I think it wraps up much quicker than the other series had. I know he was
a third place series.
Yeah. And he was trying to get out of it early so he can come here and join the team, but he has to stick it out with his team in Russia. I don't think he's overly pumped about it. I don't know if players that would be. It's not a tournament. It is a league, but that is how they do it out there. So it'll be a few more days, but I think that does buy a little bit more time for Mike Rainbow. They've got a huge test. They've got, and I mean, even just like the completeness of those lineups, right? Like even you look ahead to Montreal, like Freeman Liberty, Michael Hughes is on that team. Quincy Guerrier, who's been one of the top Canadians for years. It's a tough matchup, but I think the nice thing about playing teams like this is you're going to get a real last look of the flexibility and who might be fitting in these spots in certain situations. So, while you need the wins, another thing you need to do is have a more rock solid, or as closer to a rock solid, viewing or showing understanding of your players before Xavier Moon comes in. Because one thing's for sure, Xavier Moon's not going to be coming off the bench. Neither is Teddy Allen, right? But you look at someone like Davion Warren, who's played great and is probably in the lead for 6th man of the year. You've got Trevon Scott coming in. You've got Jeremiah Tillman Jr., and then you still have Trey McGowan's, who's been starting at point, and you've got Armani Chaney. Like they're pretty stacked at point guard. And I like that's you imagine it's got to be. Is Trey McGowan's sticking around? Is Armani sticking around? But something's got to give at some point, and it's a matter of do we find ourselves in a situation that we saw last year, right? Like it got pretty tough and maybe messy when, Mike Taylor had to scratch a guy simply because he was an import. And Jalen Williams tended to be the guy, and I thought he handled it with great professionalism. Even talking to him this year, still, said there was nothing against it. He understood it was business, and, Saskatoon's a better place for him, for his development, but it's a tough place to be. And I think this is a real last chance before that home game on the 12th. I'm not saying Xavier Moon's going to be there for sure, but it's not going to be far after that he'll be here. So I think this is, 2 tough road tests, especially when you go to Montreal. Like Montreal's a pretty an intense atmosphere to play in. And I think it's going to be a good test for some of these guys that might be on the bubble of maybe my playing time is going to get docked if I'm not gone altogether once Xavier Moon gets in.
I mean, I asked Trey Scott in the interview. I asked him, like, how does he think it's gonna work, especially with Xavier Moon and Teddy Allen. How does he think those two are going to play together? And you asked him as well, what he thinks his role is going to be. So just to kind of tease the interview, I mean, we get into that stuff with Trey because there's a lot of questions that need to be answered about the Sea Bears team. So I think, Joey, these next few weeks are going to be pretty interesting to see who's still here and who's playing how many minutes compared to how many minutes they've been playing in the first few games of the year. I think, Mike Rainbow has some decisions to be made. That is for sure.
Yeah, his first real in-season general manager task coming up for sure. But let's get to that interview. Good tease, Taylor. I think this is the time to check in with Trevon Scott and see what he's been up to since he last left the Sea Bears. He's back this year, and we are his first exclusive interview since he's returned. You're going to enjoy this one. Here's our interview with the newest Sea Bear, Trevon Scott. We're joined now by the newest, but not new Sea Bear, Trevon Scott. Just recently joined the team, and this might be one of your first full-length interviews, Trey, on since you've come back to Winnipeg.
Yeah, it is actually. It is. What's up, man? I'm happy to be back here for sure.
Well, that's awesome. Well, let's start with just what you've been up to. You've had a crazy, in our terms, off season by CBL standards, but man, you had a heck of a run this year with the G League and making the jump to the NBA. Let's start with the obvious question. What was it like not only to get that crack at the NBA playing with the Brooklyn Nets, but being a starter at that as well?
Man, it was like it was a dream come true, man. Being able to work and put myself in position and get called up. I thank God for that. But I was actually talking about this today with some of the guys in the locker room when I found out I was going to be starting. I thought it was going to be like a game, maybe 2 games, but it was just like the rest of however many games it was, and it was a surreal feeling, bro. Like once the coach told me that I kind of went cold. I was like ready, but I was just like, dang, is this real? So it was just like you know, playing in the NBA is obviously a dream come true, but starting in the NBA, like starting NBA games, is like it's an amazing feeling that I can't even really explain it.
Well, Trey, I mean, you played with the Cleveland Cavaliers a few years ago for a few games, but I mean, since then, was it ever in doubt to you that you would ever get a chance back at the NBA? And does that make it almost sweeter in a way that you had a first taste of it and then you went a little while without it, and now by Brooklyn, you got called up in another shot at playing in the big league?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, man, my journey from Cleveland and shout out to the Cavs organization, they always have a special place in my heart as well. But like, my journey from Cleveland, like up until now, that 10 days to where I'm at now, I've always been super confident. I always knew and believed that I was gonna, get another opportunity to play, play on the NBA floor again. Um, I mean, it was some ups and downs, some ups and downs. Like, then the phone keeps sliding, but a few doubts. It's always, you hear like chatter from people saying, you should try to do this and go overseas, or the NBA might not happen again. And I kind of at one point during my journey, I kind of fell into that, like that mindset, like maybe I should, maybe it is, maybe, and kind of started doubting myself, like maybe that was it. I had that run and I'm cool. But then again, I just always knew like that I was gonna get back to where I wanted to go. So I kind of like snapped out of that real quick and knew that it was gonna happen eventually. It was just a matter of when and where.
Sorry, I had a cough there. My question is to you though, because if I'm not mistaken, when you were playing with the Cavs, was that not in the bubble?
No, it wasn't. It was the year after. Yeah,
So
the year.
2021. What was the biggest difference this time around? Like aside from obviously starting, I mean, you go through it the first time, you kind of get that you dip your toe in the pool, so to speak.
Mhm.
Did you feel more prepared this time around?
Sure, I was way more prepared. I think that's why I was able to be successful, and do good. I was way more prepared. Um, I think I was just mentally, I was like I was mentally sharper in a way. I was mentally ready as well. Um, and I mean, the biggest difference was me actually playing. Like I played a few games with Cleveland. I think I only played 2 games. Um, I was averaging damn near 30 minutes a game here, like 25, like 27, 28 minutes a game when I was with Brooklyn. So just being out there actually playing real NBA minutes, and getting like, starting, so having to do my job on like have like a role that I have to fulfill and be successful at on the NBA court. Like NBA team was the biggest thing because my first 10 day was Cleveland. I got in the game, but it was towards the end of the game. Like I had to, we had you got to do X, Y, and Z, but we was up by 30 points dang near, so it really didn't like it mattered. Don't get me wrong, but it was just like the end of the game, like the back end of I don't want to say garbage minutes because that sounds bad. I never look at it like that, but it was just like this time around, I had like a big responsibility, in my opinion, starting with the team, So the biggest difference was just like I said, my mental and my role, my job, my roles.
So out of your 6 games with Brooklyn, 4 of them being starts, I mean, you had a few games scoring 11 points. I think you had a game where you had 4 or 5 steals. Like you made impact for sure in your short amount of time with the Nets. But in your stint in Brooklyn, is there a most memorable moment for you? Your most recent NBA trip?
Um, the whole experience, man, honestly, but like, I actually never thought about that. I'd probably say was when um like my mom and my dad, like when I caught, it wasn't even like it was my mom and my mother, my parents' first time coming to an NBA game, and it was seeing their son on the court, so being able, like, as I'm coming in and out of the game, I'm looking up, making eye contact with my parents. And taking the pictures we took with them afterwards, on they allowed them to come on the court, and I think that was it. Out of this thing, and also my son. One of my biggest goals was to have my son come see me play on the NBA floor, and him coming to the games, even though he was in like the little kid zone area, just running around playing, not even paying attention, but like just afterwards, him running to me on the court and all that kind of stuff. Those were my most memorable. The basketball stuff took care of itself. Scoring, dunking, shooting threes, whatever. Yeah, I do that, but it was the bigger. It was bigger than basketball for me at that moment.
I'm sure along the journey, it gets to be, there's probably times where the doubt sets in, and the sense of urgency. I mean, a pro athlete's career is not a normal career. You're not working into your 60s, or late 50s before retirement. But when you get the chance to play when you're older and you've got some experience, whether it be G League, CBL, so on and so forth, do you think there's more of an understanding of that moment where you can take those things into account? Like, did you feel it was almost more meaningful because of the journey that you took, being able to share this with your parents and your kid, kind of having all the generations there to not only witness it, but celebrate it?
Yeah, I do think that, because of my journey, I was able to appreciate it more, and like spend it with my loved ones, the ones who've been in my corner from the jump. Um, so yeah, I say, my journey, the way everything went, the highs, the lows, the doubts, the whatever you want to call it, it helped. It made that moment way more special than, anything else in my career up until this point, for sure.
Well, I'm happy you had that, man. That's really cool.
And just to kind of put a cap on your time with the Nets, I mean, how did you find out that you were getting called up to the Nets? And can you just take us through that moment? That must have been pretty special, obviously.
It was actually so after we played our playoff game against Orlando, we was in Osceola. We played our playoff game. We lost by like 2. The GMs had when the season ends, everybody come in, the coach talk, GM talk, everybody. So we were just shaking it after everyone spoke, shaking hands and talking to everybody and blah blah blah, just whatever. Uh, One of the GMs just pulled me to the side and was like, "Yo, come out here, I got to talk to you for a second." And my agent was on the phone, and once I saw like this what was going on, like it was me and the 3 GMs, and my agent was on the phone. I knew what it was. I kind of expected it, but I tried to just I wasn't trying to get too excited before I heard those words, and then when they told me, man, it was just like it was an emotional moment. I just thank God for it, and I appreciated them for the position that they put me in. This whole season, the past season that just ended. So they told me right after we lost a playoff game. Yeah.
That's great.
Well, who's the first person that you told when you found out? Who's the first phone call that you made?
So the first person I told, so I had some family come to the game. I had my aunt, my uncle, my cousins came to the game, so they was there, and my uncle. So he always was like, praying. He's a pastor. He always pray like, you getting that call, it's coming. It's coming. Like you on my prayer list. Like that call is coming. Don't worry about it. It's gonna happen. And they was there, and it was only right that I told him first. Like he was there, just because he just how positive and supportive he was of my journey. I told my aunt and my uncle and my cousins first, and then I honestly didn't tell my parents and nobody else until like the next day, because I was just like, I just want to enjoy that excitement myself, just deal with it, like just the internal excitement. I didn't even want to talk about it. I didn't tell none of my teammates, and nobody knew until like 2-3 days later. So yeah,
It's kind of like you're extending the excitement. It's almost like it's like Christmas Day, but you're waiting to tell everybody.
and I just didn't, I was just on a high, like I was on a high, like
That's awesome.
it was like after obviously I said it was after a playoff loss, like some guys in the locker room kind of like down a little because we lost, and I'm trying to be down also, but I'm like I'm trying to feel like dang, I wish we would have won, blah 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 blah, obviously, but I'm like I just got the news and I'm tomorrow I got to go back to Brooklyn, and I'm battling both, like I'm super excited, but then again I'm like dang, I wish we would have won, da da da, but so it was kind of a weird situation in a way, but
At least your season was extended too. But now, so fast forward, you're back in the CBL, brief stint with Calgary, and now you're here in Winnipeg, which I think a lot of people were getting ready to boo you. I think there were a lot of question marks when people in Winnipeg saw the signing in Calgary. We're very excited, probably surprised to see the signing in Winnipeg a few weeks later. But why are you back? I mean, you've been there. You were a starter in the NBA. Why was it important for you to come back to Winnipeg and the CEBL in general?
Honestly, if I was going, I feel like coming back to Winnipeg for sure. It's a great situation. It's just a great situation. And if I wanted to play basketball over the summer, like, you know, this stop here, it makes sense for what me and my agent has aligned in a way. Because I honestly wasn't going to play after starting and getting this call up this past year. I wasn't going to do no summer hoops. I was just going to stay home with my family, just be in the lab, just work out, all that kind of good stuff like we normally do. But I spoke to my agent about it, and he was like, "It's, it's not gonna hurt you. It's not going to mess nothing up with what we have what we have planned or what we're planning for for next season." So I'm like, if I'm gonna come back to the CEBL, then and if I want to be there the whole summer, most definitely like I'm most comfortable with Winnipeg. For sure.
So I got to be honest, Trey. I mean, I saw the press release on the weekend that the Sea Bears signed you, and I was like, "What the heck?" I thought he's with Calgary because I saw you you play 2 games with the Surge. So if you don't mind me asking, what transpired there to make you available to the Sea Bears?
It was. I can say this. It was nothing. It was no bad, bad vibe. Nothing was bad or whatever. But it was just more so of a situation to where, I knew where I really wanted to go from the jump, and it was just a decision that I made, and I wasn't, I wasn't at peace with, you know, uh, just with the decision. It was just a feeling. It just didn't. I don't want to say it didn't feel right. Well, it just didn't feel right.
It's a fit. The fit,
Yeah, yeah.
basically.
I just felt like I feel like I fit better here. And luckily, me and the GM over there, we have a good enough relationship, even outside of basketball, to where I was able to come to him man to man and just, explain to him how I was feeling, and he was very accepting of it, and he supported my decision, and we just made whatever happen. So I'm here now.
So that's and you're referring to Shane James, who's really well respected general manager around the league. I know a lot of players respect him, and that's a great situation to have that that kind of a relationship where because it's not easy to go to another division team. I'm sure that's not what they want to see, but now you look at Winnipeg. You wanted to be here.
Mm-hmm.
How much of last year was still like that taste in your mouth? Because it can go two ways the way last year went. You could either be like, I'm done, I'm not coming back. Or, I feel like we missed out on something here with the opportunity we had last year, a championship weekend, things like that. How much did you carry from last year in terms of like an unfinished business frame of mind coming into this season? Or is it even that at all?
I'm not even, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even say it's that. Like for me, because it's like roster different, coaches different. I wouldn't say it's like an unfinished business type of thing, but what I can say is, for my short time in Winnipeg last summer, I enjoyed every second of it. The fans made me feel very, very welcome and wanted here. Even after the season, even after the summer, I was getting texts like DMs from fans like hoping to see you back in Winnipeg and this and that. Even commenting on some of my posts from like Brooklyn and the G League and stuff like Winnipeg legend. So I felt like it just felt right coming back here. And on top of that, like having a really good relationship with Mike. The head coach. Now, when I got here last summer, me and him kind of clicked like instantly. I don't know how, but we just was gravitated towards each other. We were like super cool. Had a really good relationship then. And he's the head coach, so I'm just like as a player, it's always good to play for someone you have a great relationship with. As long also with Alex Campbell. He's player turned coach now. I just have good relationships with the decision makers here. So it just makes sense. When we coming back here. So I do feel like last summer we kind of dropped the ball in champ weekend playing here, but new team. I mean, same goal in mind as to win. So
Well, speaking of last summer, Trey, I mean, what was the last summer like? I mean, obviously it was a pretty unique situation where you guys were hosting the Final Four weekend, so you guys knew the second you arrived in Winnipeg, you knew that you'd be playing in at least the semifinal there. So just what was that like playing all these games leading up to that, knowing that no matter what, you guys are going to be there in the end?
It was honestly kind of like it was tough. I mean, I feel like it could be a blessing and a curse because you can go into it with the mindset of like, oh, we're gonna no matter what happens, we're gonna be playing in the playoffs anyway, or you can you could try to play and prepare for it the right way, so where you like having the right momentum, going into the playoffs or whatever champ weekend. But I mean, the team last year. I mean, when I was here last year, everyone had like the right mentality, the right mindset going into it, knowing that we was going to have home court advantage, knowing how crazy the fans are here, how supportive they are. Um, so I mean, we just came up short. Honestly, we just came up short. Even though Jalen Harris, he got hurt early in the game. One of the best players on the team wasn't able to play. So you know, it was just an unfortunate situation that we just fell short. But you move on from it.
So you talked about different head coach this year, different coaching staff in general. With as you mentioned, Alex Campbell making the move from player to coach, and Mike Rainbow making the jump from assistant to head coach. But what is your expected role this year? I mean, you said the fit would be good and everything like that. So what is it about this particular team that you know about it so far that excites you the most?
Um, I think what excites me the most is the roster, the players on the roster. Um, even and the players coming in. With Xavier Moon and Osborne also. I've played on teams uh, with Jeremiah Tillman and Xavier Moon before, so I was super excited to be able to be on the same team with both of those guys at the same time. I'm really close with them. Um, Being able to play alongside Teddy, one of the best scorers, if not the best scorer in the league. It's just exciting to be on a super talented team. And not even just those three guys, but everybody. You could go down the line because I kept tabs on the team. Was watching games and stuff like that. You could go down the line, but um, my role. That's for my role, honestly. Uh, just be me. Do what I do. Just impact the game. And, help the team win. And that's doing a bit of everything. So I'm expected to do everything, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a little bit of everything. So it's gonna be. I'm excited for it. So
Trey, there's a lot of talent on this year's team, obviously, but I think most fans, they all have one question in mind, and it's how is Xavier Moon and Teddy Allen going to complement each other? So I'm curious to hear your perspective. You played with Xavier before. You've played, against Teddy many times, obviously. So I'm just curious how you think maybe those two guys that have made a name for themselves in this league for being high scorers and dangerous players on offense, how you think they could fit beside each other.
I think it'd be a great fit, me personally, because it'd be able to give Teddy opportunities to be off the ball and uh, Xavier Moon. He's a floor general, so he's gonna know he's gonna do what he's gonna do regardless. Xavier Moon is gonna he's gonna be X, but I think he's gonna be able to put Teddy in positions so where he can score easier, which will make everything kind of it'll flow. I think personally it'll flow perfect with X being able to come in and like just control the game and put people in the right spots and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's gonna work fine, honestly.
So,
Right.
sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. So you look at last year because we talked about the familiarity of the NBA, but another familiar scenario for you is this exact scenario: joining a team when they're already in play. Good start for the Sea Bears. They've lost 3 road games now, but like all of them close. It just feels a little bit different this year in terms of. And last week Taylor brought it up on the podcast. Like the numbers are looking a little bit better. But what is the pressure or the challenge for you when you come into a team that's already got some chemistry moving along? Like, how do you implement yourself in a way that complements that and helps things move forward?
I don't think it's honestly. I don't think it's no pressure or challenge. I would say. I just think I'm a likable guy. I'm not a I'm not stuck up. I'm not arrogant. I'm a great locker room guy. I know how to get along with people, and I know how to like put confidence in a lot of in all my teammates as well. So people just tend to gravitate towards that, which makes everything easy. I'm a super positive guy, so just coming in and just being able to be myself and not think I'm too big to take criticism or constructive criticism from coaches here or the players who's already here, and being able to ask questions and listen to them and let them help me along the way, also getting implemented into the system. So I don't think it's no pressure, man. I think it's just me being able to come here and have an opportunity to be myself. And I fit right in. I fit right in.
Do you feel the mentor, like an added mentorship responsibility maybe this year? Just, fresh off your NBA, stint with Brooklyn, being a starter, there's some younger guys on the team. Like, do you feel a little bit, there's maybe guys are even looking up to you a little bit now just because of the experience you're bringing in that you didn't have last year to this extent?
Yeah. I don't know. Do I feel, I mean, I don't know, man. I guess with my experiences, like speaking to Mike and Lex, they do want me to come in and be able to lead. So yeah, being a leader on the team, but all of that stuff won't come in time. I don't want to just come in and try to be, like a dictator. Like, yo, I'm here, listen, da da da. Trying to run everything. Nah, all that stuff is gonna come in time. But just being able to be a leader and be able to learn how to speak to everybody and just keep everything, organized, keep everybody on the same page. So
guys have to be asking you about it though, right? Like, I mean, I feel like if you were coming into my locker room, that'd be like my first question. Like, so what was it like? How, like trying to understand the scenario. Cause everybody in that locker room has the same goal.
Yeah, I had those questions, I was already, answering those questions and talking about it, the few days I was here and stuff like that. So, it's fun, and I love to give and tell everybody about how I really felt and how, my experience, because it's something that I want everybody in the locker room to be able to experience as well, Like, it's not unreachable. It's right there for everybody in the locker room who I'm sharing with, because it's such a talented group of guys from one to however many people on the team, so.
Trey, was there a moment last summer that you can recall where you were kind of like, okay, this Mike Rainbow guy, yeah, he has the makings of someone that could be a head coach in this league one day?
Yeah, for sure. When I first met him and when we first started, like getting closer, and just like his mindset, the way he like was talking about certain things, and just like how well he knew the game of basketball. I'm like, he sounded like he can coach, like he know what he's talking about in a way. So, just as the summer just went, I mean, I won't say as the summer went along, I was just like, the closer we got, I was just like, yeah, he understands the game of basketball. He knows the game of basketball. So.
Right, Tay, what do you think? Ready for target time?
Let's do it.
Trey, you ready for target time?
Do it.
All right. A reminder to all of our viewers and listeners, target time is the slowest sequence of rapid fire questioning you're ever going to experience. I'll start. Trey, earlier in this interview, you said, you gave thought to going overseas, but you decided to stay the course here in North America and, and accomplish your NBA goals. Now let's pretend now you're at the tail end. You've got a choice to play anywhere that you'd want to play. You've done the NBA thing. Now you're like, I'm going to go get some experiences. Where overseas would you like to play?
That's easy. I would say, I think I would like to play Australia, the NBL, Japan. I would love it, that Japan experience. I heard a lot of good things about Japan. EuroLeague, because like, I don't know if y'all pay attention to EuroLeague, like games and crowds, like
wild, eh?
Insane.
Serbia. Yeah. Greece. Oh man, the vibes are off the charts in those places.
I want to see what that's like, playing in front of crowds like that. Playing in front of NBA crowds is cool, but they have nothing on that EuroLeague stuff. So
100%.
Those would be like, my three. Australia, Japan, like EuroLeague, anything like that.
And NBL is on the up and up. Like, a lot of dudes are going to the NBL, like with a few years left in their career, like bigger name NBA guys. It looks wild out there too in Australia. Like, that's one of the leagues that I like to watch. They were on the NBA app this year. Like, if you had like League Pass or whatever, like NBL was randomly on there. It's like, it's a pretty good show out there too.
they do a lot of like some NBL teams that come over and scrimmage against like NBA teams like preseason and stuff. So
That's cool.
I got a lot left to play though. I'm not like those older guys who's on the tip. Nah, I got a lot.
Oh yeah, but hey, when that time comes, you know you're gonna be like, all right, I'm going on the map. Where do I want to go?
Exactly.
Okay, Trey, who is an NBA player that you haven't had a chance to play against yet, but that you would really like a chance to go up against?
Kevin Durant, because
no hesitation. Okay, why KD?
He's my favorite player, you know, current NBA player right now, you know. Just to go against him, to see that live, you know, guard him and stuff like that. I think, like, it's crazy because I tell people, like, I spoke about this before, like, I've watched so much of his game, I feel like I know exactly what he want to do and what he want to get to. Like, and, like, obviously, it's unstoppable. He's, like, 7 foot, you know what I'm saying? But just Kevin Durant, you know, for sure.
Well, that'd be something to witness, too, whether you stop him or not. Like, it'd be like, you know, I know what he's doing, and he's still scoring like on all these guys.
For sure, KD.
All right, sticking with the NBA. So you've played, games with Cleveland. You played with Brooklyn. You've been to multiple arenas. Of the ones that you've been to, what was your favorite NBA venue to play?
To be honest, man, I love Toronto. I love Toronto's arena. I played in Boston. Boston was my first NBA game. Boston. I think Boston arena is number one. The ones that I played in because
that's the right answer.
Yeah, it's a historic. It's like one of the most historic arenas in NBA history. You know, the Garden, like Boston, the Garden, and Staples, well, the Lakers, whatever.
Yeah, crypto. I don't even know what it's called now, but I still call it the Staples Center.
Yeah, I almost the Staples. Yeah, the Staples Center. But like, I think my experience most definitely has been Boston, and then Toronto after that.
Nice.
Well, we'll stick with the NBA theme. I mean, for those that didn't listen to our first interview with you last year, Trey, you said that Tracy McGrady is one of your favorite players of all time.
Yeah.
So and you even got to meet him, you even got to chat him up for 15 minutes, which is super cool. But in your opinion, where does T-Mac rank in the all-time greatest shooting guards rankings? I mean, obviously he's not ahead of the shooting guard I have behind me over here, Reggie Miller. But I mean, just curious where you put your boy T-Mac.
I'm gonna be honest. If Tracy McGrady, like the injury type stuff, what people say, like if it wasn't for a lot of that, he's most definitely be a top 5 shooting guard all time, in my opinion. But right now, shooting guard, I give him like. That's a tough question. He's top 10 for sure. A shooting guard. He's top 10 for sure. I just don't know what range I want to put him. I'll probably give him like 6 or 7.
So not top.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's pretty fair.
Between 5 and 10, I think that's fair.
I don't want to be biased just because he's my all-time favorite player. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be like real. Like I'm gonna be honest.
I'm dating myself. I was in high school when he was playing, and like the T-Mac shoes were unreal, and he had like his own brand of like the T-Mac Adidas brand with like the TM1 was like it was a cool logo, and like we all had the shorts and the shirt. Like at the time, it's hard to think about now, but like it was as popular, maybe even more popular than like the Allen Iverson stuff. Like it was wild. Like he was such a cultural phenomenon. I don't feel like for a newer generation, I don't know, like people fully understand the T-Mac experience. Like when it was happening, it was awesome.
Actually,
is that
more of his
okay? So now
I had Joey. I had T-Mac shoes, T-Mac shorts. I had a T-Mac wristband that I wore on my forearm because I thought that was cooler than wearing it on my wrist. I bumped it up to the forearm, and I thought I was the coolest kid ever. And thank the Lord, no one took a picture of me dressed in all that because I just shake my head at the idea of. And I also dyed my hair blonde as well. I had blonde streaks.
That's
in there,
wild.
So, I thought I was just the
look like Marshall Mathers.
Pretty, yeah.
Dude,
I wish I looked as cool as Marshall.
Were your shorts though? My T-Mac shorts, like this is the era where everything was super baggy. Like not like the Sebastian Telfer like baggy in like the Slam magazine, but like looking back at it now, I still think they're cool. I don't know. I know like kids laugh about it, but I'm like, you had to be there, I guess. I always thought that would be like the style forever. I never thought the short shorts were coming back and like these tight jerseys. Like, man, give me the baggy era. That was my time.
Trey Mann with the Charlotte Hornets, he's on that 2000, early 2000 type of dress wear, like game attire, like baggy shorts and bigger jersey, you know, big tees. Like you should. It's actually kind of dope for real.
I love it, man. Bring it back. Bring it back. That was the best era. Okay, Trey. So you've said, you know, you wanted to come back to Winnipeg. You enjoyed your experience here. I think I might know the answer to this, but if you could bring one Winnipeg thing with you wherever you go, what would it be?
We know. On the count of three, we all can say it at the same time. Let's try to do that. You ready?
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3.
Thermia.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say honey dill sauce. That would have been my pick.
Yeah, man. Thermia, man. I love it. I love that place, man.
Last year we actually interviewed you from the sauna, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was in there. I know, it was like in a little cafeteria. I had the robe on. Like, yeah.
You were living your chill life. That was like that. I don't think you've had a more comfortable interview in your life than that one.
Bro,
that
it was perfect. Like I love that place. Like I love that place, man. So I would love to bring that. I need to figure out how I can get a carbon copy of that and get it built in the U.S. somewhere. Like, nice.
I feel like that just has to be their testimonial. I love that place, Trevon Scott.
I love that place.
Well, not quite as chill as Thermea, but a fellow Cincinnati Bearcat like yourself, Trey Scott, was Lance Stevenson. Speaking of shooting guards as well, tie that in as well. Have you ever had any run-ins with Lance Stevenson? Ever got to play against him, with him, or anything? I know you're at Cincinnati at different times, so you ever get a chance to meet Lance or play with him?
Yeah, I did. Like 2 years ago, I played against him at the showcase, the G League showcase. It's crazy. I actually like injured my finger. Like it was a crazy, like, I don't even know. It was like I don't even know how it happened. Like he was driving, someone was guarding. I was a help side. I tried to reach in and like swat the ball. Like I hit something on him or whatever, and like my finger like split open. It was a crazy injury that I blame him for. You know, I blame him for that. But I mean, I was able to, you know, before the game we chopped it up a little. You know, we, you know, talked to, obviously Cincinnati, we both know, you know, each other, went there, but he a cool dude for sure. Like he's cool, you know. I speak sometimes on Instagram, you know, here and there, but yeah, he cool.
Okay, that was great, Taylor, because we did not talk about our questions, but mine is also, it's not actually directly to this, but it's related to a stat that came out that I found, that you had a 20-20 game, so 20 points, 20 rebounds while at Cincinnati. You were the first person to do this, again, dating myself, since Kenyon Martin did it. And, you know, he went on to have a great NBA career, and he was a huge part of the New Jersey Nets when I was in high school. Another great rebounder on this team is Jeremiah Tillman Jr., who you've played with and against. So I want to know if you guys are in a rebound competition, and it's a best of 7. First one to grab 4 boards. Who's going to win? Just a one-on-one dogfight for boards.
Man, I don't know, man. That's tough. Really a big. Hey.
He's tall and long.
I don't know. I'm always bet on myself. Though. I'm gonna bet on me for sure.
Well, you had 20 rebounds in an NCAA game, man. Like that's no joke either.
It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be a dogfight. Like I said, whoever wins is gonna be. It's gonna be a dogfight. I don't know.
I feel like I just started the next Seabears practice competition. I don't know. Jeremiah was on our show a few weeks ago. Now I feel bad for him because we didn't know you were coming. I would have asked him the same question. So now he's got to go prove it. So
hey, Tilly, man, he's big, bro. Big. He's a great rebounder. He's strong. He's super strong. Like he's a brawler down there, bro. He's a brawler down there for sure.
Well, speaking of brawler, I'll end it with this, Trey. Funny enough, last week, I believe, Lance Stevenson, he had an MMA fight. I don't know if you saw this. He made Michael Beasley tap out. I don't know what the card was, where it was, who was running it, but I saw it on Twitter. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird, but good for Lance for getting the dub, I guess. But Trey, which NBA player, past or present, do you think would have the makings of a great MMA fighter? Who do you think could step in the octagon or in the ring and lay a whooping on some guys?
James Johnson. Easy.
What is it?
Answer.
Yeah.
Great answer.
I never met him in person. You know, we have like I never met him in person, but all of the stories I hear and heard and like the podcasts and stuff I see with him, I'm like, these are James Johnson.
Man, there was no hesitation there. I'll take your word for it. That's crazy. All right, that does it for Target Time. Trey, I want to say thanks again for making the time. It's always great to have you on the podcast. You're fun to have on, and welcome back to Winnipeg. Looking forward to seeing you battling with the Sea Bears once again.
I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that was our interview with Trevon Scott. Just a great guy, right? I love going into Target Time. You know, that guy understands what the initiative is with Target Time. Great answers there, and always a good time having him on.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had him on twice now, Joey, and I think we could easily have him on another 2 times easily. I mean, there's still a lot about his career to discuss. And I mean, he's just a guy that, you know, despite the fact that he has one of the most impressive resumes in this league, he's so down to earth and chill. Like, you would think he's, you know, the second round U Sports draft pick guy at the end of the bench. But meanwhile, you know, he's a guy who's played against some of the best players in the world, right? So,
100%.
Sea Bear is definitely lucky to get him back, whatever his role may be.
It's just too bad he wasn't robed up this time, Tay.
I want to go bash my head against the wall in the opening remarks. You asked me about Trevon Scott, and I said he was robed up the last time we spoke to him, because he was at Thermea, and this, you know, as soon as I said that sentence, it just sounded, I just wanted to go back again, bash my head against the wall, because just saying robed up is just kind of a weird thing. So I think we need to wrap this up, Joey, because I kind of hate myself, because that's just a weird thing to say.
First off, I got to figure out if it's Thermea or Thermea. I've heard it pronounced both ways. So before they come on as a sponsor,
Thermea. I used to always say Thermea, but I've been corrected by
I know it's not
several
Thermea.
people.
That I know. So, you know, I'm going to have to clarify this before we go to them and say, hey, come sponsor the podcast, right? And maybe we have to have live,
or at least robe us up. Hey, at least robe us up, so moving forward we can be robed up as we're doing the show. That's the very least that Thermea could do. But, you know,
live pod at Thermea,
robed up edition.
Robed up.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll have the robed up editions. Make that happen.
Why not? Why not?
That's the conclusion of Robed Up, our new segment. Appreciate everybody being on here. Always love interacting with you. At Taylor Allen 31, at Joey Slattery TV are our Instagram handles. At Target Score Pod is the podcast handle. Remember, episodes coming out every Wednesday for Target Score Winnipeg, Brampton, and Vancouver. 3 shows on the docket, and 2 games coming up for the Sea Bears. Thursday in Ottawa against the Blackjacks, and Friday against the Montreal Alliance at Verdun Auditorium, one of the cooler venues in the CEBL. Going to be a tough test, 2 back-to-back games for the Sea Bears on the not the East Coast, but in the Eastern time zone. So yeah, tune into those on CBC Gem and on YouTube. Don't need a paywall. They are free. You can find them on CBC Sports on YouTube, CEBL on YouTube, or CBC Gem, which is a free app. We will recap it all next week and have another guest. Again, thanks to Trey Scott for being here. And we will see you next week, Taylor. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you then, pal.
You bet, man. Take care, guys.